strong force. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it says
But
like to study creation, all of you who are interested in Psalms.
Not all lead comes from the radioactive decay chain anyway. We've got lead 204, which is primordial lead.
yeah, and that's basically my point, that you have an irreducibly complex system that's intricately interconnected, that you had things created all at the same time. It's not like all the elements were byproducts of hydrogen, right? Hydrogen being the most abundant element in the universe and the most basic element. A lot of people think that, it was
You said
like...
You said it's irreducibly complex, but it isn't, is it?
No, it absolutely is. Just like the human body is irreducibly complex, the universe, the cosmos itself is irreducibly complex.
If you say so.
You need multiple laws in place, intricately working together to sustain life.
Yeah.
I mean, you can deny it, but that's just the reality that we live in.
I'm not going to deny your opinion. It's not shared with most people.
Consensus. They acknowledge that.
But I mean, we're admitting that there is a problem, right, with the story.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I
I've already
concede that
acknowledged
there
it.
is a problem.
No,
but
I wouldn't do that, because I already explained in the mainstream cosmology there may be, but not if you believe in Hebrew cosmology, with the heat problem in particular. Do you remember?
So how does Hebrew cosmology solve?
But I'm just saying, like, there are mysteries, bro. Even with flat Earth, there are mysteries, bro. Like the southern axis of rotation. Like, I can't explain that, and nor do I claim that I have an answer for the southern axis of rotation, dude. I don't have to have a working model, dude. I'm all set.
It's a pretty big thing to have missing, though. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, the mainstream acknowledges they don't have an explanation for things too. So just because somebody can explain something, don't act like that makes their worldview like fall apart. True. Because y'all don't understand dark matter. Y'all don't understand.
Right.
There's so many things, the Big Bang. So just because you don't understand something, if somebody, says, "Oh, I don't understand this in particular," that's everybody would acknowledge that. Every model would acknowledge that.
Not having a satisfactory explanation, or at least a observation of a substantive amount of stuff that's virtually on the bounds of our abilities to perceive things, is a little bit different than not having a valid explanation why half the fucking sky is moving the way it is.
Is substantive amount of stuff, would you say that 95% of all matter and substance in the universe, if you don't understand it, would that be substantive? If 95% of our reality is dark energy and dark matter, so then maybe y'all don't understand a substantive amount of stuff. You understand 5%.
Absolutely. If 95% of the stuff is beyond the scope of our observation, yeah, and that's how
that's unfortunate.
Well, there are loads and loads of fields and ways we evaluate the world where we've got literally that amount of visibility cover.
Y'all claim you don't understand 95% of the universe, dark matter and dark energy. You don't know what that is. So, is that substantive?
No. It's okay. When you say they don't
know what it is.
No, well, no, they give it names of dark energy and dark matter. So they're assuming
they don't know what they are.
Okay. Again, let me finish what I'm saying. Yeah. They're assuming, and you know this, they're assuming that there is a substantive amount of energy and mass that they haven't observed. That's all they don't understand.
They have observed the effects of it. They just don't know what it is.
Sorry, I didn't catch what you said. Did you move away from the mic?
They have observed the effects of it. They just don't know what it is.
What have they observed? Where have they observed dark matter and dark energy?
They claim they observe dark energy by shifting of the stars. They claim they observe dark by the galaxies being able to be held together while the universe is expanding and at their super fast rotational speeds. So
Yeah, but the whole point is that there's observational evidence for it being there, but they don't know how much of it there is, do they?
no, they claim they know how much is there. They just don't know what.
We just satisfy ourselves by saying things like the universe works in mysterious ways. That kind of phrase
Oh.
works very well for a lot of people in other scopes, doesn't it? Bottom line is you're never going to know even a tiny, tiny, infinitely small amount about the nature and scope of your God. Dark God. Have you got an
Why would you
explanation
say
for that?
that?
Or the God you don't know about?
Oh, we claim that we do know
Mr.
God. That's
Fills
the
gaps.
difference. We know God.
No God.
God is noble. God is noble. He's not some ominous force like dark energy or gravity.
What do you mean by noble?
We know God. God revealed himself to man.
No,
That's
you
what
think
we'd
you did.
expect.
You think you know God.
We would expect if there was divine creation, if there was intelligent design and intricacy within the creation, which we do see within creation itself, that God would reveal himself and be a personable God. And that happens to be what we see within the scriptures is God revealing himself over thousands of years to dozens of people,
You think that
including
God's
people
revealed himself.
today.
You think that God's revealed himself in the scripture.
And you think he hasn't. So who's right?
Well, maybe if you don't know, how do we know? How do we ever find out?
That's a good question. Let's look at the evidence.
Evidence for God.
Is the scripture something that was just made up and people just claim that God, interacted with man all these years, or is there for these events? That would be the next step.
Oh, so you're saying is there stuff? Are there railway stations in the UK that also appear in Harry Potter novels? Is that what you're doing?
I have no clue.
No.
Harry Potter doesn't claim to be an art.
King's Cross Station is in Harry Potter, yeah. King's Cross Station
Is the
a train
Egyptians writing
station,
about the same
therefore
events?
Harry Potter and Hogwarts must be true, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So around the whole world, everybody's just writing the same mythical event that they just came up in civilizations around the whole world. With creation, the flood. Yeah, they are. Yeah, it's creation stories around the whole world overlap. Yes, they do.
Okay,
so they just have to come up with the same mythical event that actually matches with reality the best. That's weird. Must be Harry Potter.
Okay, so who was crucified and came back to life in Hinduism?
I don't know. You tell me.
Oh, it's funny that.
Never heard of it.
What about in Buddhism?
Who was?
Who was crucified and
Who
came back to
was?
life? You just made a bold claim, and then the moment I asked you to vociferously back it up, you went, I don't know.
Are we talking about creation? Or are we talking about Christianity? You're conflating like thousands of years of a.
Oh, we're talking about your book.
You want to know who was crucified in Hinduism? I got you, bro. Hold on.
So there was evidence of Christianity. Cultures around the world did write about that too. Yeah, people around the world did write about Christ as well, the Son of God. But yeah, with creation and Genesis.
Isn't it a shame you're not Christian with the mic?
Yeah, cultures around the whole world have the same creation story in terms of creation. In terms of Christianity, it is substantiated. The story is substantiated by multiple cultures and testimonies as well.
Listen, you're free to believe it, but don't try and pretend it's an absolute truth. You don't know that.
Well, we can't
I
substantiate the
think it
events in the
is.
scripture. We
No,
can
you think
substantiate them.
I get that. I get that. I get you think it's an absolute truth, but that doesn't make it an absolute truth because you
Do you
want it to
think
be.
that we could substantiate historical events anyway? How can we substantiate a historical claim?
You can't
Can we
necessarily
substantiate history?
you can't necessarily
We
completely
can't
100%.
substantiate history,
Okay,
according to Pazza.
okay. I mean, what we can do is we can wait for each other to finish sentences like grown-ups. Do you want to try doing that for a bit?
You cut me off a second ago.
Okay, all right. So I'll tell you what. Taylor, you've won. You've won. Okay, yeah. Christianity, God is real. You're the best one in the room.
God is real, but no, go ahead with your statement. We'll try not to cut each other off.
Nah, I'm bored of it already.
You're hilarious, dude.
I know. I know.
Asked
My
and unanswered.
patience, my patience in these conversations forever is continuously thinning out. Frankly.
I'm sorry, Pazza. That you need to work on your patience.
Frustration mounts.
Frustration mounts indeed.
It's like a pebble in your shoe, bro. It just wears down and wears down at your foot.
Yeah.
Wears you down.
But God
yeah.
can renew your strength. It says they will run and not grow weary.
That's right.
That is so
Thanks
true.
to God, everyone runs and doesn't get weary. Thanks to God.
No. By His people that run by His Spirit. That's why they have. That's why they have zeal and
I'm running on
and they're
diesel and
actually
alcohol.
not depressed.
You're ready?
Like a bunch of atheists that they're.
I got something for you guys though. Hold on, yo.
There's meaning to life.
Yeah, I know.
This is from a scholar, dude.
Life from where I sit as well.
Pazza, I want you to know that you're not an accident. You are created. You have a purpose. You are a creation. You're not just an accidental speck of nothingness floating in the middle of nowhere.
No one says I am.
Good. I'm glad they don't, because that's not true.
I want you to know that you are not a range of things that I'm pretending that other people say you are, that you aren't actually, no one has actually said.
You were divinely created, Pazza.
Of course.
You were divinely created by the Creator.
No, I wasn't.
Yo, so right here, yo, real quick. So I got here, the Supreme Creator took a perfect human body, I don't know how to pronounce this, Nishkalanka Purush, and offered it up as a self-sacrifice. This Purush was symbolized by a lamb, which was then the animal most commonly sacrificed. This Purush was above sin, and only in knowing him does one obtain immortality. You can find this in Shagdogya Upanishad. Acknowledging the Purush sacrifice imparts eternal life. After giving himself as a supreme sacrifice, this Purush resurrected, not reincarnated himself. Clearly, the purpose of this sacrifice is to provide the only way to heaven and the only way of escape from hell. So what you have is the gospel message found in the Rig Veda.
Was that
well, can you send me that?
Is that written after the Bible?
Yeah, posted in. I got the PDFs.
Yeah, there's a Chinese account too of the resurrection that happened right after.
You ignore my question. Is that written before the Bible or after the Bible?
Well, there's a lot of claims about the Rig Vedas, how old they are, but they're actually not as old as claimed. They were written after the Bible.
So everyone thinks they're written before, but except you don't agree
Correct,
with that.
Correct. No, dude, I have scholars that can. I can point to them. I'll show you in a second.
What's
it says the Sanskrit.
Oh, I remember looking up the Rig Veda.
Hold on.
What's the general consensus, though?
I don't care about the consensus, bro. The Sanskrit as a language was developed between 100 AD to 150 AD, bro.
Oh, look, I got you right here. The oldest surviving Rig Veda manuscript is 11th century CE. The oldest surviving Rig Veda manuscript, 11th century after Christ.
Okay, it says the Sanskrit as a language developed between 100 and 150 AD from Prakrit and other languages. The inscriptions of go ahead. The inscriptions of Sanskrit language are available only from the 5th century AD and onwards. This is evidenced by the fact that apart from portions of Vedas which were not written in Sanskrit, all other Vedas, Upanishads, Brahmanas, and Puranas were written in Sanskrit only after 100 AD, obviously after Christ. I mean, I could keep reading, but it's all there in the chat, dude. There you go.
Oh, it must be true then.
Post the PDFs where I got this from. Here you go, dude.
I thought we were talking about Christianity, not Islam. Or are we talking about PDFs?
is just an abstraction of these things into a unified, cohesive understanding. So to say we could ground it in reality, and when reality requires minimally three distinct parts to have their identity and be universal, that's just to say that the Trinitarian God exists, and to say nature can ground it, which nature is a process that requires a mind, an intelligibility, so on and so forth. It's just to say that God exists too. So they're meaningless unless you're referring to God.
So, but how do we know that stealing is immoral?
And
Immoralities.
Like, how do we know that how do we know that it's immoral?
Well,
because God has made the world in a way. Go ahead.
I would just ask you first, and this is going to sound like a pedantic and dumb question, but what do you mean by the word no?
How have we come as a society to collectively agree that stealing is wrong and immoral and should be punished with a crime?
I don't think we all do collectively agree that stealing is always wrong. Like, I think most people would say, okay, like if you have a starving
We have laws
child,
that for most of the times agree that if you steal something from somebody, that it's a crime.
So most people would say if you're a mother and have a starving child, that it's not morally wrong to steal a can of beans from Walmart. Do you agree?
But our society has already decided that even if that woman is starving, they're still going to arrest her for stealing.
Well, yeah, but I would say morality is not based on the laws of the land. If you're basing your laws, if you're basing morality on whatever's legal and what's illegal, then slavery is okay sometimes.
I'm not saying that, but we've all had to collectively come to the agreement that stealing is wrong. And I'm asking you, where does that come from? Why did we decide that that was wrong?
Well, I mean, we haven't always decided that that's wrong, is what I would say, right? Like, you cannot appeal to like collective consensus to say something is right or wrong.
And I agree. Like, I think our human nature would probably argue that it's not wrong because we see animals steal and animals don't share. They don't, there's no sharing in the animal kingdom. Like, hey, tiger, I'm going to share my dinner with you, so you won't eat
these
me.
animals definitely do share. They've been sharing my stuff. They've been sharing my yard.
I don't know. The last time I've seen a chicken, I don't know the last time I've seen a chicken just, portion out their like corn feed and like they're not going to eat the other's corn feed because they don't want to take too much. Never seen a dog, not try to eat the other dog's food because they want to be considerate. It's pretty cutthroat in the animal kingdom. There is no sharing. Stealing is a free-for-all. It works advantageously, actually, to be a thief in the animal kingdom. Works in your favor. So where would humans get this? Like, it's unnatural almost to think that stealing is wrong.
What does that mean? What does that mean, natural? This is the same thing also appeal to. It's unnatural. So this is
I watch my toddlers. Like, they have to be taught to share. It has to be taught. They're not coming out knowing this.
No, maybe you. I don't know.
I don't know,
but
dude,
I disagree with that.
I've seen ducks purposely drop. Like, you could see they're purposely dropping feed into like the feed. Like,
okay, we're gonna say okay. There's always an exception, right? It's very rare. Animals,
lions do
they don't share. They don't. They're cutthroat, and children.
They'll share with the the dingoes and shit if there's enough to go around. But
and children
fight over all of it.
Children by default do not want to share. They might eventually get to that point, but it is not the default programming. So where does this come from then?
There are countless examples of animals and children all showing compassion, sharing, etc. Like, I agree that it is not like the status quo or something like that, but there are countless examples of animals and children showing compassion.
Do you have an example of an animal sharing?
Yeah, like it happens literally all the time. Animals will risk their life sometimes to save like a struggling squirrel on the road. A dog will run out and drag it back.
Do you have a
across the
video
road.
of one time that you've seen? Oh, I'm not talking about saving. I talked about sharing food. Give an example of two animals in the wild just agreeing to share.
I mean, I don't have a video handy, but I think it's a pretty well.
How can you say so boldly that this is
Birds.
This is just
They'll feed
it's
each
something we
other.
observe all the time.
Birds will feed each other.
Well, yeah, that's a perfect example. Well, like I have a video probably on my phone somewhere of a bird nest from last summer and a mother sharing food with 3 of her little kid birds.
So the way that there is like a hierarchy with eating with animals, like especially with lions, right? The big animals get to eat first and then the other ones eat later. Same with dogs. There is a hierarchy. But it's not because they're sharing. It's because they earned their place in the hierarchy and they will beat the shit out of each other if you overstep. So that's why they've earned their slot. They get to eat first. The other animals wait their turn, but they're not sharing. Like it's different.
Well, what is the point you're making though? Like what's the broader point?
The point I'm making is where are we deriving then? Where would we come up with this thought that stealing is wrong if it's not given us if it was not given to us from a divine, all-knowing, all-loving
Don't need a God for it. What you have, you worked for, you earned, belongs to you. You don't want people taking your shit. Period. It's nature.
Yeah, well, we have like a personal a reason to not want to isolate ourselves, right? So like if you're stealing from everyone, you become isolated from the tribe. If you become isolated from the tribe, you're more likely to die. So like getting along is like definitely something that is beneficial even without God.
I don't know. Depends on the situation. In survival,
Yeah, like if you're on a plane crash on an island, if you're on a plane crash on the island and you hoard all of the food from like the microwave ovens, right, and isolate yourself from the other 20 people on the plane crash, you may have more food like for the next week because you've stolen all like whatever, like the microwavable food from the plane crash, but you're isolated from the rest of the tribe and you're probably going to die. So it would be personally beneficial to share that food so that way when they go out hunting or whatever, like they're going to share with you too.
Maybe. It depends when people get desperate. That survival instinct kicks in.
Yeah, I mean, I think most people think that it's easier and better to survive in a tribe opposed to in isolation.
I just think that stealing in the animal kingdom and in survival mechanism, like in survival mode, there's nothing immoral about it. It's just survival of the fittest. But
well, I kind of agree.
An all-knowing, all-loving creator would be able to see, no, this is still wrong, and this is why this is wrong. It's because because a person is given value from the creator. Like, I think that's what the Declaration of Independence is trying to like say. Like, we are, beings we're divinely created from the creator. And so because of that, we have value. And because of that, we have rights. And that's where this comes from. And that's why it matters if you steal from somebody else, because they matter. But you don't get that value without a creator.
Well, maybe
there's no value if there's 2 people on an island, there's no value in keeping the other person alive if they're eating half of your food and they're going to expedite like you guys running out of food. There's no advantage.
Yeah, but like the broader point is that you cannot like just appeal to, okay, we've collectively decided as a society that stealing is wrong, therefore it must come from God that stealing is wrong, because a variety of societies throughout history have collectively agreed that a number of horrific things are completely okay. So like if you just rewind a few hundred years and like most people are saying that it's okay to hold slaves, you wouldn't say therefore it's okay to hold slaves. Like where did we get that idea? It must have came from God. That just wouldn't make sense.
No, but I think any argument that you have anything special about you, anything that gives you rights, gives you, I forget the word, but anything like that, that comes from a God. It doesn't come from the animal kingdom. That you're divine, that you matter.
Well, yeah,
That's essentially what the rules are trying to do. That's essentially what the moral code is trying to do, is trying to preserve everybody's.
I kind of agree. I'm not appealing to evolution for morality by any means. I would just say, like, whatever your base axiom is, you just take as a base axiom. Christians take the Christian God as their base axiom. I just take reality as my base axiom, and I say all sentient and conscious creatures have negative rights. You say all humans have negative rights. Okay, like it's just the base axiom. It's not something
Negative rights. I'm saying they have rights. Like they're.
Yeah, when I say negative rights, I mean like the right to not be killed or friendship.
That's what but that's where morality is all like based upon, is that like you have these rights, God-given rights. I believe that's what the Declaration says. Like, so that's that whole foundation. Like our whole society is built on this idea that you only matter because there's a God.
Yeah, but when
you don't matter if there isn't one.
Yeah, but like when that document was written, they didn't think Black people had those same rights. So like it is just an arbitrary line.
But but again, I'm saying that the rights exist, whether the people of the time, respect those rights, right? Obviously the people of the time of the Declaration, 1700s, I think, I don't know when it was written, but let's say 1700s. They weren't respecting the rights of those people. But I believe that God and Jesus says that all mankind, I believe that Jesus says this in the text, it says Jew and Gentile, all have rights. And so if people are not following them, then they're flawed. But it doesn't mean that God is flawed, and it doesn't mean that morality is flawed. Just means that people aren't honoring, they're not honoring the rights. We are different than animals. We are considered value. Like everyone is considered to have value because it's attached to the fact that because God gave you those. That's the only reason that you would have any value.
I agree with all of that up until the very end. Like you can have like eternal morality and not have to rely on the God of the Bible. And that's what I would say.
But who's giving you nobody in the animal kingdom gives a shit about your rights.
I'll
tell you that. That's all. It's all like the animal kingdom is all about like busting in on other people's rights all day long.
Yeah, animals are not like moral agents. They don't have the capacity to ruminate, to contemplate.
Do you think that there's no different? Do you think there's a difference? I think that God created animals to be used for humans. So there's a difference. Again, that's the only way you get that separation is if you believe in a God. Because if you don't, then you think that animals and humans are just kind of the same and we have equal, and you get into a slippery slope with like vegans where it's like a snail has just as much rights as you do. But it's like, I don't believe that. I believe that God created animals for us. So we actually have the authority over them and we're given dominion over them. So that's again where you can say like, yeah, a human is more valuable than a snail. Only with the God argument. You can't without it.
Yeah, but that's the arbitrary line you're drawing. It's the same line that Christians used to say that slavery is okay, because they would say, okay, God didn't actually create black people with the same rights as white people, right?
Well,
So
the
you're
problem
drawing an
is that,
arbitrary line.
well, I have Jesus, but I have scripture saying both of the things I'm saying. Scripture says that humans have dominion over animals, and scripture says that all human lives should be treated with respect and they have rights. And I'm
Yeah, but the
sorry that our
scripture
founding
doesn't.
fathers skipped that line of Jesus and they were being Pharisee and Sadducee vibes. But again, you cannot look at the bad behavior of human people and think that that's therefore a flaw in God and
I'm
his
not saying there's a
divine
flaw
moral
in God. I'm
code.
saying God doesn't exist, right? And then, like, scripture does not interpret itself. It requires people to interpret it. So some people
If
can,
you,
like, they use scripture to support slavery, and then they subsequently use scripture to abolish slavery. The same book, just different interpretations.
so what has more value? A baby human or a baby snake?
Well, it depends on, like, what type of value you mean, right? If you just mean, like, fundamental value,
I'm saying where would you get that value system? If you're not leaning on a God, why is a human more valuable than
Well,
a
let me
snake?
ask you this. What's more valuable to you, your kids or some starving kid in Africa?
You're asking a different question.
I know.
Well, you're
I'm
asking about snakes. What the hell?
Because I'm saying that the Bible said,
Value.
yeah, because like you just avoided my question because you knew it was right. So
no,
I'm going to
I
get you.
asked that
I'm going to
question
get
to draw
you.
out. No, I asked that question to draw out the contradiction in your question. Yes, a
Well,
human
I
is
would
going
say
to
you're
be
right.
more.
There's no moral, like in the eyes of God, there's no moral difference of my children than another child. I just have a preference because they're my children. But in the eyes of God, does a baby have more value than a snake? Absolutely.
Yes,
Okay,
that's what I
so
would
now I'm going
say.
to ask you again, if you are not relying on God, how do you determine that a human life has more value than a snake?
It's called intellect, humanity, our
Yeah,
ability to
Wait,
think
I
and
wanted Ahsoka to
reconcile.
answer that, please. I've asked that like 3 times now.
I would say, like, in the ultimate standard of, like, the fundamental moral reality of reality, all conscious and sentient creatures have equal value. However, to me, a human has more value to me than a snake or a snail or whatever else that you mentioned. Just like your child has more moral value to you than the random child, starving kid in Africa, I would say it's the same thing with snakes or dogs or whatever.
So why,
Personal value, not
as a
universal.
society, then do we not like have a bunch of laws protecting snakes?
Because society is flawed.
Snakes
That's why
should
we're not.
also,
There's
like
so much
snakes'
against
rights,
this.
guys. Snakes should be able to access public buildings just like we do. Why can a snake not be in the gym?
You cannot rely on, if you're relying on
Why?
society
Why
for
can
the
a
moral
snake not
code,
be able to
you're
roam
wrong.
free in an elementary school? Equal rights, bro. Snakes have
Yeah,
rights. We
I know you
should
think
build,
you're
we
being
can't even
funny,
have
but
roads. We can't have roads because we might hurt a snake. Like, you see what I'm saying? You
no,
clearly
you don't
know
see what
that
I'm saying.
humans
You don't even
have.
understand that. You don't know what negative rights are. I'm not trying to be rude, but if you don't know what negative rights are, you don't even know what I'm talking about, which, fair enough.
What
No
does
big deal.
negative rights mean? That we don't have any rights?
No, that's not what that means.
Okay, well, what does it mean?
It means they have the right to not be infringed upon, right? It doesn't mean that a snake has the right to vote or to enter public places. It means it has the
Why
right to
not?
not maliciously kill.
Why can't a snake enter a school? It has equal rights as humans in
Okay.
your mind. And dogs and cats and deer, why can they not just roam the streets?
I didn't
And
say they have
why?
no
Why?
rights. That's what you're missing, right? Like,
But I'm saying that. But if we have no God and everything is just all creation is equal, then what are we doing? Why do we have zoos? Why do we have supermarkets with dead animals? Why do we have farms? Why do we have pets? Pets are having a pet is considered slavery. If under your paradigm.
No, it's not.
Yes, because you just said negative rights. Having animals taken from their moms and given to strangers is slavery, according to you. But see, I can make the argument that it's not immoral to do that with animals because we have been given dominion over them. But I can say it is immoral for you to do that to a human being because human beings are different.
I can say I got dominion over them. I can make my own decision about that. I don't need the Bible to tell me that I've got dominion over a lesser animal.
What is it that's
you can
communicating
make
that
that decision, but I'm saying that you have no, like, the only way you have objective morality is if there's a God.
No, that's the whole point that I'm arguing at for, like, that's what I brought up with things, right? Is you may have objective morality. I think that I also have objective morality, but that objective morality is always interpreted subjectively, right? So the same way that people use the Bible to subjectively say that slavery is okay, then subsequently use the Bible to subjectively say that slavery
but it doesn't
is wrong.
change the first clause. It doesn't change the first.
Okay, I'm not.
If
no offense.
what is it like? If A is true, and B is false, then A can still be true. Like, what, you know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't.
No, nobody knows what you're saying when you say that.
I understood it very well. I understood very well, very, very well. But yeah, that's not good. That's not surprise. Your objections are not the point. The objection that we don't have, your objection saying that, well, we can still do wrong things. It's not the point. To clarifying to grounding morality being objective. To say that, well, even though you know what, you guys just want to talk. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, what about you just completely rush over to the point you made that some people can look at the Bible and subject that it's okay to have slavery, and others can subjectively evaluate it and say it's wrong. It's not.
Well, I was directly addressing that, my good man.
How?
By pointing out that it's not a defeater, right? That in the worldview of that God exists, God grounds morality. If God does not exist, there is no such thing as morality. It just doesn't exist.
Yeah, but I provided
that's got nothing to do with what I just said.
Yeah, so right. So the point that was the main point, and then his rebuttal to it, or your rebuttal to it, may be, well, even if that's the case, I don't have access to it. Is not a defeater for the existence of morality.
No, you're saying that God. You're saying that God is the only explanation for objective morality, and I said objective morality can just be built into the fabric of reality. You have not defeated that. I'm just providing another possible.
We can't even find it though. We tried to find where it's built in. We tried to find where it's built in, and actually, when we look where it's quote unquote built in, it's not built in the animal kingdom. It's not built into children. It's not built into children's nature. So where is it?
No, dude, you're missing the whole point, Sky. No offense, but like one's capacity to understand objective morality is outside of the argument, right? Someone could be born 500 years ago and not understand the true objective morality, whether they're Christian or non-Christian. Someone who's mentally retarded could be born today and not understand objective morality, but that would not mean that objective morality does not exist.
Yeah, my argument,
I agree with you there. Like, objective morality is like a song, right? It's like a song playing on the radio. It always is going, it always exists, and people can choose to listen to it or not, but it's going, it's always there.
That was really beautiful. I thought it was going to be really terrible, but then, that was.
Are we in agreement with Ahsoka that maybe we don't even have to debate, because I'm in agreement that yes, people can choose not to acknowledge it, but that doesn't matter. It's still there.
Don't agree with him. He's tricking you. The only thing you can't agree with his assertion or somebody's assertion that reality, brute reality, whatever that means, could account for objective morality, because then you'd have to reality is some sort of like whole, right? Then you'd have to account for the attributes of reality being, agency, intention, etc. So this reality, so broadly put, would have to have the attributes of intention, decisions, and whatnot. So, like to say reality is just vacuous.
Objective morality is a brute fact. That's my whole point. You do not need to appeal to the Christian God. You say that you can only get objective morality through the Christian God, and I say no. It's just built into the fabric of reality.
I'll meet you halfway through a God. Through a God.
It depends on what you mean by God.
All the civilizations that were actually able to like make a name for themselves all had some kind of God in the mix because it was necessary in order to have organization. And yes, there's people in the societies that would break the rules, but for the most part, the people would follow them. And that's how they were able to.
It's like a song, Oscar. They either listen to it or they don't.
There is a lot of utility for society believing in a God, right? But that's just a pragmatic fallacy. Just because there is utility to something does not mean it's true. And just because
show me a society that is successful that doesn't believe in a God.
It doesn't matter because that's a pragmatic fallacy. That's what I'm saying.
But you're saying, show me what and actually when society stops believing in a God, guess what? They get really bad. Did you know that? They don't get better. They get worse.
All societies are better off believing God, but that doesn't mean that God is true.
Have you got an example of one that stopped believing in God and went bad?
Dude, I mean, I can show you a person who doesn't believe in God.
Sodom and Gomorrah. Yes.
Who's a good
Sodom and Gomorrah.
Who has like, lots
as
of
a
money.
Christian, Oscar is correct.
A society. Have you got an example of a society that turned its back in its authority and God went bad?
Yeah, I said Sodom and Gomorrah.
This would be a stupid point. It would be dumb. It would just be. This would just be like somebody's interpretation of like what if they had the wrong guy, what if they had the right God, and it's like look how good they did, and now I can determine what's good and bad, and that one is better according to my own standard. What's good and bad, so therefore God exists, and then you say, well, I think that one's better, therefore God doesn't exist. It's so terrible.
Have we covered yet why Sodom was cursed? Because I think that was an interesting.
It's just the right thing to do.
Don't question God.
Say again.
Don't question God. God said so. That's the truth.
It's because God said they weren't nice to immigrants. They
we'll try to overanalyze
outsiders and feed the hungry.
Don't start with that.
Well, they were trying to sleep with angels. That was a big no-no. You can't sleep with angels.
But that was after they'd been cursed.
Well, if you sleep with angels, they destroy all humanity. So
right, but the angels
had to reiterate that lesson again.
But the angels were there because Sodom was already going to get destroyed.
Were the angels the aliens?
Two cities sinning isn't two cities turning their back on God.
They were turning. Well, okay. I mean,
is turning its back.
They were actively choosing to defile creation with the worst thing that you could do.
Okay, so there are
which was mate with an angel,
which is not the same as an entire society turning its back on God.
Are you, Pazza? Are you angry that God did that, Pazza? Does it upset you?
He wanted to mate with an angel, and he can't now.
Tell me about your mother, no tanks.
Was it? I'm just asking. Well, I do breastfeed, but not for my mother. But do you think that it was wrong of God to do that?
He didn't do anything.
So
God punished humankind because they decided to mate with angels.
Yeah. And Harry Potter snapped the wand so no one could ever use it again.
Harry Potter?
Well, you can get triggered. I mean,
I'm not.
You think that your cousin is a rock, so make your Harry Potter jokes. Everything that we both believe is very out there. You just think yours is normal.
Whatever that means.
Yeah, I pointed that out. That's actually a good thing. I pointed it out to like Rick and some others. Like, yeah, I think maybe even to Pazza. I'm not sure. Like, why not just go like the God route, the Christian route? Because there's so much less special pleading if you're a Christian. Like, if you're not a Christian, then you have to special plead at every turn. You have to be like, I don't know, rocks became humans, and then or rocks became animals, and then animals became conscious, and then all the all the matter, which is one, all the matter, all the matter, which is
let him get out of his system.
hello. All the matter, which is one thing, somehow distinguished itself from itself and became many things. And then consciousness arose. All this special pleading you'd have to make. Why not just ground it in one special pleading and say there's one God that can account for all the distinctions and consciousness and the soul and time and space? All these things can be accounted for in God.
You can't say that much nonsense and expect anybody to engage with it.
So what's kind of condescending is that you're trying to act as though your origin story is not just as fantastical, just as out there, just as bizarre and unbelievable as ours is.
Actually,
bizarre.
That's not
way
true.
More bizarre.
And the reason it's not true is because, and I don't know what you're talking about specifically, but things like evolution make predictions that we can check that have come to pass. Things like abiogenesis have to have certain chemical, physical reactions, which we have simulated some of. And things like cosmology, the Big Bang makes predictions that we have confirmed in, observation. So there
so you're actually touching on all the things I was actually touching on myself. So like the Big Bang, all things, like the one singular thing, the universe, single, somehow exploded from itself, distinguished itself from itself, and became tree and rabbit and squirrel. That's awfully magical, right? And then the other thing that somebody pointed to just a moment ago, saying that evolution occurred, but all we need, just give us all the ingredients, right? We just need all the ingredients to say that evolution occurred. So it's like, why special plead and say somehow we had to have the one thing, the universe, become many different things, and then we need all of the chemicals to then be, all the one rock to be different rocks, and then we need all of the the different rocks to then become, we need all of the different rocks to become alive in different.
It's hilarious. He thinks it's
Say again.
He thinks it's like less ridiculous to think that rocks,
So ridiculous.
thousands of years, and all of this stuff had to happen for technology than just some bad angels came down and gave humankind technology. You think he thinks that's like way more normal,
have you
and that's only because
seen an angel come down lately?
conditioning.
Yes, I have.
Can you show me an angel that came down and gave us technology?
So you
I
think
was breastfeeding from an angel not too long ago.
sinful manifestation of.
Well, I cannot show you the angel coming down, but I have thousands of people's eyewitness testimonies documented for centuries. Does that count?
You mean a book? A book?
Do you think?
I'm not just talking about a book. I'm talking about societies that created statues, that wrote texts, that gave these entities names, that gave these entities characteristics, that for thousands of years.
Does that mean Vishnu is true?
They don't value.
I believe that those entities, I believe that they were interacting with. Yes, it actually does make sense, and if it did happen, we have all the history. Like, imagine it did happen, and angels did come down. That's what the people of the time were saying. That's what the people of the time were documenting.
Well, yes. wait. That's what the Western and the people in the Middle East were saying. What about the people in China and the in Asia? They were seeing Vishnu and Buddhas and a whole bunch of stuff that I don't think
there's different characters that they were seeing, but the story is all the same. That people with higher technological power.
That's not true.
That is the truth.
Wait a minute.
Pretty much.
So
you're
you're I assume you're a Christian, Sky.
I'm actually a Chrysler. Did you know that?
I don't know what
Soko told me I can't call myself a Christian because I don't believe in the Trinity.
So you don't subscribe to a major religion?
For this debate, sure. Let's say that.
Okay. Well, and in that case, you have your own idea of how religion should work, and okay.
No, I'm just saying that all the people of the origins of history all had a common. They had different characters of their story, but the Sumerians, the Egyptians, the Inca, the Mayans, the Mayans, the Indians, they all have records after records of interacting with these beings.
Yes, but do you want to?
So I'm just saying, like, so when you kind of like scoff at this, that this would be so preposterous for an angel to come down. It's like, come on, dude. Like
There's an important thing here, though, Scott. There's an important point here.
Do you want to?
Technology is fairly young. It's all documented.
What do you mean by tech? I mean, the wheel is technology, right?
The Aztecs committed abominations. I don't want to get my morality from the Aztecs. They had gods.
Well, okay, I agree with you. So this is again why what I'm saying is not that bizarre. Like, if it's true that there is a creator, there's a God, and then there's a hierarchy of creation, and some of the creation's here on earth and some of the creation is in heaven, and the creation in heaven defied God and came down and tried to pretend that they were gods, and the people that followed those people, they have a very weird, culture, and they have weird moral contradictions.
So how do you know that how do you know that you're not following isn't one of those fallen entities, and you've got it all wrong as well?
Well, perhaps I do, but perhaps I'm following the wrong entity, but it doesn't take away the fact that there is a creator.
Do you see how that, you can convince yourself of that. I can convince myself of what I think is true, but
I'm not scoffing. When somebody was scoffing, like, it's so ridiculous that I could think that angels could come down and have defied God, and that's why God flooded the earth. And, that's why we have the civilization we do.
So I don't think that that's necessarily ridiculous, but I do think that if you're going
somebody else was acting that way. Judge, don't make it.
I think that there's not the kind of evidence for it that there is for, like, the Big Bang.
Well, that's why I said eyewitness testimony I would consider at least some credible evidence. You could say that that's not the end all be all, but I think it's definitely worth noting that all the people of the time, because if that was happening, that's what the people would do, right? They didn't have iPhones. They did that. If angels were coming down, what else would they do other than do what they did? So I think that just like, I'm not saying that could be the only proof, but I think that is proof, and it should have weight.
If you acknowledge that works for the Hindu gods, then I don't think that's inconsistent.
But I think the Hindu gods, the Hindu people could have seen gods, and that's like, that is true. And also that Jesus can be real and the creator can be real. Like, those all can work together. They're not exclusive. They actually make sense. If you believe in the fallen angel theory, all of these other polytheistic religions begin to make sense.
Yeah, what doesn't make sense, and what's not necessary, I would say, for the atheists who Omni is not, is to special plead at every moment. Say, well, there must have been like multiple abiogeneses taking place in order for evolution to be able to account for distinctions. Why not just say that God made things with a purpose and in a way so that we could have, like, squirrel and tree and frog? Why would somebody rather take the position that that the impossible then became possible?
I think you're misusing special pleading.
Why not just take? Why not? Well, I mean, you would need a multitude of these events, like consciousness deriving from rocks. Why not just ground it all in God? You need multiple miracles in a worldview without God, multiple at every turn. Why not just ground it in one, which is God, which is the mind that's eternal, that can account for the law of identity over time? It's more reasonable than any other position available, for the reasons I already gave, such as
it's not more reasonable than every
which
other.
Which is commonly said to be the. I'm literally speaking, right? So commonly said to be the cosmological argument that this Big Bang, right? All things were one thing that then became different things. Like, what would be more reasonable is that God has placed categories in the world, in reality, so that a thing is what it is.
What I want to know is why we get so, like, I just hear people respond so arrogant and aggressive to like when you talk about past societies and them documenting this stuff, and it's like they mock these.
Romans. I'll tell you. Romans says it. I can find you the verse. Mostly because they're gay. But I can find you the verse. One of the real.
But like people will mock these ancient civilizations that, like the Indian civilization, for example, like the Hindu civilization has amazing architecture. They have amazing technology. They have amazing record keeping.
You're making things up in a pantomime in your head. No one was mocking those civilizations.
There are tons of people that I've had debates with where when I say that I
would, in the context of the conversation you're having now, then, rather than just blathering like this.
I actually think your comment was unhelpful and actually made us detour when I was trying to make a point.
Carry on pretending what we've said to you in the last half an hour. Then carry on.
You know, you can win a debate without being condescending to me. Did you know that? You could win a debate without being rude. You could just. You don't have to shield it.
I don't think there's any value in mocking a culture. I mean,
but people do that. So when I say, guys, I think there were fallen angels that came down and they messed with humanity. And I think they interacted with humanity and they taught humanity stuff, and God was mad about it and flooded the earth. People laugh. And then when I say, well, there's tons of eyewitness testimony of this, people again laugh and mock said eyewitness testimony. But they don't think, like, I think it's disrespectful because at least, like, think about this culture. They had the top people of the culture working like tirelessly to try to tell these stories and preserve these stories and preserve it in their culture and their artifacts and their temples and everything. And the fact that we just dismiss it like they're all hallucinating.
Well, hang on. So first off, I don't think there's thousands of witnesses to the biblical flood. I think the whole point of the biblical flood is that we don't get those witnesses.
I'm saying there's thousands of witnesses of fallen angels from different cultures.
Well, if you interpret all the other gods as fallen angels, yes. If you have an idea of what a fallen angel.
Well, okay, I'm saying, okay, so fallen angel means a divine entity that's come from the sky.
Well, what about the UAPs, the UFOs that they have today?
Your vain reasoning.
Well, now it's just adding stacks to my. I mean, you're just adding stacks of eyewitness testimony for centuries.
Those as fallen angels. I know somebody. I know a pastor who does interpret. Now he doesn't point at the screen and say, "Oh, that's definitely, Fred the fallen angel." But
I know a pastor that has like
on the balance that a bunch of these things might be, celestial and probably not good. So that is an interpretation, but even he would admit there's not really good evidence for that interpretation. That's just his take.
Yeah, he should. Yeah, he's appealing to something external to the Bible. That's not a good pastor there at all.
Like as a theory, that's one thing.
You're going to pretend you're saying things because.
But as like a case that I think I can make and totally back up and strongly defend.
He's just saying words, knowing I was speaking. He's trying to fill the space where I'm speaking to just say words.
Okay, don't do that. Let this guy talk.
He's like, he was pretending like he was continuing a thought. Like, wait, now I think about it as I'm speaking. You're a deceptive fake Christian. Why are you a deceptive fake Christian, Omnivore?
Okay, that's kind of name calling.
That's a direct question to Omnivore. Please answer the question. All right. And anyways, that would just be an appeal.
I think these people are getting smoked because they want to mock
toxic shift.
Toxic
it's
shift.
No tanks. He is kind of toxic. It's okay, no tanks.
It's not contributing either.
You're purposely speaking for me.
I'm a better Christian than no tanks.
Yep. So like the first commandment.
I'm a Chrysler, so I'm not even in the Christian club.
That's good. Yeah, the first commandment says, put no other gods before me. So Omni's doing Jude over there, Left Lane, any of these guys. What they're doing is they're saying that there is something else that's ultimate, that's not God, that makes things true. So through their worldview, where There's other planets where I don't, there's all this, that God is not necessary. They're saying, well, aliens. It would just be aliens. So interpreting through this worldview where God is not necessary. But I don't know how they've, what they've used or their methodology they've used to determine that God does not exist and God is not necessary.
We know.
What is it? I mean, how do you know it?
You should read the sage version of your words, No Tanks. That is some word salad.
I appreciate it. So, what is it that you've used to reason to the conclusion that God is not necessary, that it's aliens or other things, or just kicking the can down the road? What is it that's necessary for you guys to make these determinations?
The world, the universe in which we live is infinitely complex, and the idea that you can stop kicking the idea down the can because you think there's a God is intellectually lazy.
Okay, so you can infinitely kick the can down the road.
No, it's like literally a requirement of physics, brother.
Okay, yeah, whatever.
Okay, okay. So, how did all the matter and energy get here?
We don't know.
Okay. Do you agree the first law says you can't create matter and energy?
All those laws are pertain to the universe after its
I'm pretty sure that did not sound like an answer, bro.
Well, it does.
Okay. Does the first law say we can't create it?
But the first law pertains to the universe after its manifestation.
Okay, so yeah, it says we can't create matter and energy, right? Okay, so then if it wasn't created, it would have had to always be here.
We've done this before.
Wait up. Then it would have had to always be here, right?
Keep going. We've done this before.
All right, bro. Never mind. It's like you guys are such weirdos. Like you say stuff like God is like copping out, and then you can't even have like a basic conversation.
I can have loads of basic conversations, but what I don't have is conversations that go round and round and round. I've done this before.
Okay. All right, brother. Well, it's all good, man. The second law shows you that, the amount of usable energy decreases, so there had to be a beginning, so it couldn't have always been here. You can't say that it was created. It would violate the first law, which means you need something that is not limited to the laws of nature, which is supernatural. So you literally need the antecedent of the creation of matter and energy that's supernatural. So you literally, physically need a supernatural creator. So I would say the lazy person is the one that just can't even use their brain for 10 seconds to think about that.
Yeah, but again, those laws you utilize, everybody that uses those laws thinks that they're not necessarily, they don't pertain to the pre-Big Bang. So why use them as a mechanism to comport or confine the pre-Big Bang?
What, bruh? The Big Bang is where you then have all this matter and energy. We're trying to figure out how it got here.
Even in your worldview where you have a Big Bang is only justified through the Christian God. I mean, you think that Big Bang can occur?
That's right. Everybody justifies the Big Bang through the Christian God. That's correct. Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
Of course. That's
You want me to give you the argument, or are you going to?
So is the theory that the Big Bang violates the first law because it creates energy? Is that the theory?
Yeah. Apparently, these laws mean that these laws have to be also the universe or whatever precedes the universe also pertains to these laws, and everybody believes that. All the scientists believe this.
No, dude, he's saying that they can't pertain these laws. I don't think you need to push back against this so hard. Like, it's a pretty strong argument to say there must be a supernatural cause to the universe or something that's outside of our understanding of natural laws. Like, why are you fighting against that?
Well, that's true. There's no point punctuating it with the laws of thermodynamics.
I'll tell you why, because he's become vain in his reasoning.
Right, saying that the Big Bang breaks
has been darkened. Omnivore. Hey, Omnivore, dude. Hey, man. What's up, man? How are you, Omni? I was talking, dude. How are you, dude?
Bang,
he just makes sure to talk when I talk.
Proceeded before the Big Bang.
Why you got kicked out of Geos?
Which we don't know.
Do you have Don turned down?
God, that is, I think.
This is what he does. This is what he does.
That's weird.
No, I mean, the Witsit argument's pretty strong. I don't see why people push back it so hard. Like, there must be a supernatural cause to the universe, or it's just completely outside of our comprehension. Like I don't believe in God, but I can accept that. Why can't, Pazza and other people?
Omnivore, can you hear No Tanks?
I didn't say that the preceded the universe was supernatural.
Hey, Pazza, can you hear Riggs?
No, I didn't hear him.
I'm going to be heading out in a few minutes anyway, but Omni seems to be intentionally interrupting me. I mean, I don't know if it's a mystery or if
I just want to.
everybody
I
doesn't
just want
see
to
it
be
or
able to
what.
get a word in once in a while. It's okay. You don't have to talk nonstop.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't hear Rex either, for the record.
Anyway,
I didn't have anything substantial. I was just asking if Omnivore can hear no tanks.
Yes, I can hear no tanks.
Okay, after y'all are done, and I was just wondering if I could have a little help. I'm out here doing this experiment. But no, not to interrupt.
No, what is it?
I'm at like the North Shore of Hawaii, the Oahu, the capital island, and I'm trying to figure out there's islands around the shore. I'm trying to see which ones maybe should be hidden by the globe because I have the P900. I want to see if I could see them and then measure the refractive gradient. You know what I mean? So I'm by let's see. All these are hard to pronounce. I'll drop a screenshot of where I'm by. There's a lot of different options. I'm just trying to see which one should be hidden by the globe. Use my P900 and see if I can see it. If anybody wants to help, just DM me. Thanks.
Yeah, Omni, I pointed it out before. You claim to be a Christian. I've never heard you make an argument for Christianity. I mean, take it how you want, but it's always obstinance against God. I've only ever heard you make arguments against God, and then you'll say things like, "Yeah, I have my beliefs, and I'm a Christian." That's not an argument.
I think you're mistaking me, thinking don't have much to say with speaking against God.
No, what's your argument for the existence?
Two separate categories.
What's your argument for the existence of God?
My argument for the existence of God? I have a internal sense that I believe God exists.
Yeah, it's literally what I just said you would say. So you have no argument for the existence of God. You just will claim that I am a Christian. I'm not Omnivore. I'm a Christian. I just believe that God might exist. But all I ever hear from you are arguments against God.
I'm a Christian by the Nicene Creed. I attend a church. Believe it or not, I doubt you attend a church. Right?
I do. So I do. So and then
right.
And then,
I mean, correct. You don't go to church. You don't go to church.
No,
right?
I do. And then
I doubt it.
I do. And then okay. Well, you have you have some sort of internal belief. But like, would it be probably like if let's pretend that you knew God existed, which you clearly don't have an argument for it. So I don't know how you would know it. If God existed, should you shut your mouth, or should you make arguments against God's existence? Which one should you keep doing?
I should not make weak arguments, illogical arguments, in a attempt to defend God that is not in integrity and is not necessary.
All right, great. What's your argument that God exists?
What's that? Yes, I think that God exists.
No. What's the argument that God is necessary? God exists.
There is not a. So you're talking about the transcendental argument for God.
Any argument that you want. Any argument that you want.
It's a very
I don't want to argue with you about this.
Yeah, any reasoning to the conclusion that God exists. Any reasoning for your belief in God.
So reasoning to think that God exists. I think the fine-tuning argument is okay. We don't have the counterfactual, but I think it's a pretty, it's a pretty decent case for God existing. I do think that the specifics of our planet seem to be fairly unusual, maybe not unique, but fairly unusual in the cosmos, which is kind of cool. And I do think that creation is in fact beautiful, and the laws of it are a construction of monumental precision and interaction that gives rise to the kind of life that we have.
It seems like you're just arguing for heliocentrism and evolution. Do you have an argument for God?
Well, that's because, I know, because your idea of God is God is like wants to make you the most special person on the planet, and uplift you and all of the things you think should be true, you think God is working to make those true. So
no, it's just that I asked you for an argument for God, and then you argued for like the heliocentric or whatever barycentric model of the solar system and the galaxies, and then you argued for beauty in evolution. Do you have an argument for God other than, well, God maybe could have made the moon and sun look right about the same size, so therefore God maybe could possibly have done it for some reason?
Look, I don't think that God is playing, hide the facts. I don't think God is burying dinosaur bones and trying to make them look like they're, a million years old. I don't think God is putting light traveling in space that it comes into existence.
Yeah, it seems like you're just obsessed with the globe or something. That's it. So so what if, like my original question, God exists, right? You claim to be a Christian. Your anti-God arguments, if you're a Christian, shouldn't you just shut your mouth?
What are my anti-God arguments?
That God is not necessary. Only God maybe could have, threw in a dash of spice to cause evolution to account for the law of identity. Or your other proof that maybe God mixed things up in a bowl. And, it was like, listen, I want the planets to go here and I'm going to bounce. Yeah. See you later. Maybe those aren't I don't know, Pastor Omni. Is that what you tell?
No, I mean, I would be happy to give you advice. And the advice that I give you would be to abandon your little jihad here. You don't.
Yeah, shouldn't you just shut your mouth?
You're not fighting a righteous war for God. You're just being an asshole in Discord.
No, you're playing you're playing like you're a Christian, right? But as a Christian, shouldn't you just shut your mouth when you have no reason for your, like it says, to have an argument for your belief and justification in God, and you don't have one? So
to be fair, do you realize that it is not, God is not contingent on your ability to argue for him or against him? Do you understand that it doesn't matter what you think?
It's not
Do you think he gave you justifications about 2 minutes ago?
No, yeah.
They were justifications for evolution and heliocentrism.
No. To be fair, he didn't lay out the entire argument step by step, but he did invoke fine tuning as an argument, which is an argument specifically for the existence of God.
Yeah, sure.
And it's perfectly valid, as a form of apologetics.
Of course.
That was the only one he came close to, but he said he wasn't even fully on board. He said, I think the fine tuning can be sometimes a good, and it was just weak. It's just is that
that's horrible?
Yeah, rewind the tape. That's how he did it.
It completely upsets you that I don't have to try to pretend to be one of these tag bros.
Right. So then when people
try to do it, I realize it's a sore spot because I can argue the tag better than you can. I don't think it's in integrity. I don't think it's a legitimate argument.
Yeah, you think there's no legitimate argument for the existence of God, dude? That's so.
I don't think you can logic
as a proclaimed Christian, shouldn't you just shut your fucking mouth?
So I don't.
I told you I'm more Christian than Otanks every day of my life.
I mean,
that's all right.
If fine tuning is Omni's, hang on 1 second. If fine tuning is Omni's go-to form of apologetics for God, I think it'd be interesting to see him go back and forth with somebody who's an atheist in here against fine tuning.
That's the point. He won't argue for the existence of God. All he'll do is whenever somebody comes and says, I think God exists and it's a better explanation to account for the world than these other theories, he will jump on the atheist train and argue against God. That's it.
It's not on atheist.
Back and forth with Omni over it. Go on, Omni.
So I would not argue for Zeus as the creator of lightning, and no tanks would be there going, you're a bad Zeus priest. You're bad at you're bad at defending Zeus. You have to. Zeus is going to wither and die away if you don't defend him. Look at that lightning. Obviously, Zeus. I mean, the whole mission you're on. No,
I'm not arguing that God needs me to argue.
There's no need for it.
I'm just saying that the devil does what you do.
It's literally, you are probably doing more to turn people away from Christianity than I am.
So you admit you're doing things to turn people away from Christianity. I appreciate that. That was
I think that the way that I practice Christianity is the way that most people should, which is to say, in manners where it becomes an element, try to live up to the Christian standards.
Yeah, for pragmatic reasons or some sort of other nonsense. But the point that I'm making is that anytime,
it doesn't give you the ego boost if you're,
so cute that you talk.
If you're not super, superior about it.
Talk over detected.
Yeah.
Talk over detected. Yep. Yeah. So I mean, the point is that we can just see, right. So anytime the Christians come in, like Witsit and Sky that you chased off, Omni, and they want to make their arguments for the existence, the necessary God existing. You jump on the train with Left Lane and Pazza and any other atheist, and then you say, "But I'm a Christian and I agree with all the atheists." That is gross.
Flawed. It is better to make no argument.
You don't have a fucking argument. You don't have one.
Oh Lord.
Making stupid arguments for God just makes you look like an idiot and doesn't really help with God.
Anyway,
I
mean,
I'm done. He did say that he's compelled to evaluate the fine tuning as a possible as a possible fingerprint.
Yeah. Okay. Good. I look forward to hearing Omni argue it every time the topic comes up. I'm going to sit by on mute and I'm going to listen to Omni smack these guys down with his fine tuning argument.
You see, this trouble isn't there. So you're not actually listening to what anybody's saying to you.
Yeah.
You're just cross. You're just very cross with everybody. You know, Tanks. You're very, very angry.
Well, yeah.
Dude, it's just like serpent. It's like definitionally, it's like serpent behavior. Like saying, listen, I'm a Christian too, and it might be the case that God doesn't exist. And I mean, this is the thing. Like any of your arguments, I'm a Christian as well, and all the arguments. Stop talking while I'm talking. Like, and all the arguments that I ever hear are bad. And you can have that belief inside, but don't tell other people that God might exist. And I'm a Christian, believe me, and taste my fucking apples. I guess it's Omni talking right now. That's what he does.
So what church do you attend? I'm curious.
I'm sure you are curious, and that's probably what's leading to your atheism. Is that curious?
I don't mean which church, like the street address. I mean, what denomination of Christianity do you practice?
Don't worry about it. But I do look forward to hearing you speak on your fine-tuning arguments and bringing people into the church. That's going to be
this is the thing. You know, like Christians are supposed to pass on the word of God. He's not doing any of that. He just gets his kicks just annoying people. Don't you know, Tanks?
It is fun.
How very Christian of you. Onward, Christian soldiers, pissing.
I'll tell you something that I think is very Christian and done too little. I think that it is very Christian to be against cruelty in our actions and in our hearts. And I think that there are far too many people, Christian and otherwise, who are very much interested in conducting themselves with the best cruelty they can maximize to those who are most vulnerable.
Yeah, well, cruelty is strength to some.
Left Lane.
It's more like cruelty is enjoyable.
Eggshells, Left Lane. Pazza, if you could get behind your leader Omni, he will lead you to atheism. And just say yes, and we all agree with you, Omni. Yes.
Just trolling him endlessly.
I'm just making it. Look, I think everybody should agree with me because it is, and I'm putting my hand on my chest, written on our hearts. I don't know if that's a familiar term for you, No Tanks. I'm guessing it's not. But I think we have built-in moral intuitions that can, yes, guide us towards morality.
There's another thing. There's another devilish thing. He thinks he doesn't know that he has morality written on his own. He thinks he could be wrong.
Isn't it amazing?
And he thinks that's correct.
Never ever heard you talk about your religion. It's always you basically denigrating other people's.
I don't think my cousin is a rock, but I'm not convinced you aren't.
Well, I do rock. That is true. I rock. But anyways, Yeah, this is like the third time I've had to scold you, and even though I enjoy it and I like scolding you and embarrassing and humiliating you, I don't want to have to keep on doing it. Okay,
Onward,
I don't want to have
Christian soldiers.
He is a legend in his own mind.
Yeah, he is, isn't he? Didn't take long to work you out. No thanks, frankly.
Hey, Pazza, how's your son?
What the one who's wow, he's doing all right actually. My Christian son.
Wow, both of them. I forgot you had two.
Yeah, they're okay. He the one who's Christian's got a new job. Well, he's got several jobs, but one of the jobs he's doing now is he's working part time in a school.
Does your son ever debate you about religion?
Yeah, occasionally. I don't want to. I wouldn't go. It's not vociferous. It's not like he knows what my position is, and I know his.
You proud of him?
Yeah, sure. Why would I not be proud of my children?
It's good to hear.
He could believe anything he wanted to. If he was good in his heart and he was good to people and he was committed to, following a good line and a good life, I wouldn't,
How did he get indoctrinated into the cult of Christianity?
He came to me. How old was he? Forgetting. He was about 6 or 7, and said
6, 7.
Yeah, 6 or 7 from school, and he said, I want to go to church. I was like, oh, okay. A bit taken aback. But so I contacted a local church, and just obviously discussed with my wife what we were going to do, and so I contacted a local church, spoke to the reverend of the church, explained the situation. I said, hey, so if he comes along, told him about the family. He's absolutely fine. He said, would you be a problem if I was with him, chaperoned him for a while? He said, yeah, absolutely fine. He was completely cool with it. So I did. I just sat in on Sunday mornings, and it's like a Sunday school effectively. Really. It's steered towards young children. But yeah, did that for until for 4 years on and off. I did a bit as well, and then he started going on his own. He doesn't go. He's been busy recently, but he does still go reasonably frequently. But I enjoyed the community part of it, and then the Reverend is a good friend to the family now, and done lots of drives and stuff with them, and got involved in any of the stuff they were doing there. Some of the older practitioners were a bit taken aback at first, but in a world, particularly in the UK, where it's becoming increasingly secular, if the church can't be a little bit flexible about things, then it's going to make matters worse for itself in some respects. My opinion, anyway.
Yeah, it's always like hard to kind of catch how Christianity is in the UK. Because obviously there's like the Church of England, like very like Anglican principles, and I assume your son is Anglican. Ish.
Yes,
okay. Yeah.
Church of England. Yeah.
Okay. Are you aware of the schism that happened recently in the Anglican Church?
There's been a few. Are you talking about the one about? Well, there's been one over women priests. There's been one about homosexual marriage. There's been one about what was the other ones? There's been quite a few.
Yeah.
It's a denomination that is, should we say, fractious is willfully fractious historically at the and that's been a gracious way of describing it.
Yeah, because that's a thing, is that the African Anglican Church is like more numerous by numbers, I believe.
Yeah.
And on the whole, like the recent like instituting of a woman pastor, the African Anglican Church, who was previously in communion, were like, hey, that's not okay. Like that's not what the Anglican Church does. And so, like, they're officially just like, yeah, we're no longer part of the Church of England or like that Anglican Church anymore, and we are the one true Anglican Church.
Yeah, yeah, I know. I mean, this is, I think that in all honesty, Christianity is, if you look at how diverse it is in terms of ideology, you know, this is the kind of thing that's been going on for quite a while, isn't it? It's an unusual situation. I mean, the UK is predominantly secular nowadays.
Yeah.
There is. I mean, we're a Christian state. I mean, the head of the state is the king, the queen, or whatever, who is by definition head of the church still. And
yeah.
So I mean, and I think most people in the UK nowadays, they go to church for Christmas, weddings, funerals, and occasionally, and maybe at crisis points in between.
Yeah, you could almost look at it like how, Japan, by and large, like as a overall culture, views a lot of religious things, is that they do these things, but there's not the meaning attached to it. There's only like the ritual attached to it.
Yeah,
they'll go to the shrine, pray to the shrine, but there's no like belief attached to it.
No, well, I say some of the elderly practitioners who I met through social interactions to the church, I never saw in the church, or rarely saw in the church, and it was explained to me that there's an elderly couple who don't live very far from me, actually, and they rarely go to church. They go to church for specific, events within the Christian calendar. They don't see it as a community function anymore. They didn't, and they haven't seen it that way since when they were very young. And I think a lot of people in the UK lost that bridge between the Sabbath and regularly going to church.
Yeah, that's one thing that's really rough is if you want a church that's at least in America, like if you want a church that's vaguely somewhere in your your theological wheelhouse, oftentimes you're going to be going further for a church where a concept that we have, at least in like my circles, is that if somebody is more than 15 minutes away from you, they're not part of your community in like the they can't immediately go to your house and like help you with something. It's a much more of an extended trip. And in that sense, like if the closest church you go to, none of those people are like really part of your community, and all of your family members move elsewhere in either the US or the UK, then there's much more of like a segregation to where like the communal aspect of everybody who goes to church are people that are within, a 15-minute drive of you, kind of goes away.
Yeah. It's a shame in some respects. I think it's a good societal, mechanism for good societal cohesion, and I think it benefits a lot of the, the older generations.
Yeah, because
they still go, but there's no one. There's hardly anyone there. They kind of miss that link with the rest of the society, because a lot of people now don't look after their older, their older members of the family properly, do they? Or they're off somewhere else in the world.
Yeah, like that's the thing, is that in a lot of cultures it wasn't too uncommon, like traditionally, to give your wealth before you died, and sort of just kind of accept that like when you're older that you're sort of like not the main character of life anymore, and that you do kind of move in with your younger family and help out with them, and they help out with you, and kind of having that more like multi-generational family structure, which is like these kind of things are intent. Like there's no statistics that you can look at for the loss of not knowing who your neighbors are. Like at least in the US, like most people do not know the names of their next door neighbors.
Yeah, it is a bit of an intangible, isn't it? It's certainly statistically, it's an intangible, I should imagine.
Yeah, and it's like, it's not like a single factor problem. Like everybody wants to always do like single factor analysis of like, oh, if everybody just became Christian again, or if everybody did this thing or that thing, then everything would be fun and hunky dory. But it's like there are so many things that went from that like community cohesion to what we have now, and it's not really something that can have like, oh, just do this one simple thing and it'll fix everything.
Right. Yeah.
Speaking about the UK in generally, like a historical point on the idea of like industrialization, and just interesting book going into this concept is that like every town in the UK for several many 100-year periods every town had a blacksmith. Every town had all of these people doing these different things, and then there was like 80 years of factory work, and then the factories get taken away, moving to America because it's cheaper to do it in America. And then now that town has no blacksmiths and it has no factory work.
No, I think that migration of those skills and the manifest value they have to community is happening all around the world, and it moves around.
Yeah, like the wouldn't be so. That's kind of what you see right now in the idea of like China doing massive work on infrastructure in places in Africa. So, like, it'll probably be eventually that all of the cheap stuff that is made in China, they all of a sudden do all of the cheap stuff in Africa instead. And then so all the people that are currently reliant on the Chinese factory work eventually are just no longer going to have that.
Sure, because if the standard of living keeps rising in China, you'll reach a threshold where you won't be able to sustain that by doing the kind of work that they have been doing up to now. It's a perpetual cycle, really. Wow, I mean, you're going
and then
ultimately you're going to run out of places to foister off your cheap labor on. Then what's going to happen?
Yeah, and then every place that goes through the cycle just ends up just overall getting devastated.
Yeah,
I mean, the robots and AI are just going to do the cheap labor.
This is true. I think that I mean, this is a completely separate conversation, but I think you're right. That when all the things that can tangibly be automated will be automated, it doesn't leave an awful lot of wiggling room for humanity, frankly.
Yeah, and it's the question of like, what do we do about solving the issues in these like northeast factory towns in England, like Midwestern Appalachian states that have that were factory towns no longer have that, and then in China eventually, once those towns no longer have factories, like what is actually the solution that can be done, which seems like the current system doesn't really have any reasonable solutions for it.
No, it only has a growth, a tenet of growth at any cost, doesn't it? And it's not necessarily. It doesn't have a goal, I don't think. Not a sensible one, anyway. I mean, certainly for the UK, it's water passed so long under the bridge that you can't really imagine a scenario now where we have even light industry, let alone heavy and medium industry, come back.
Yeah, you'd have to do like pretty radical change.
Yeah.
And the question is like, where is the appetite for that? That's one thing that was like lightly talked about that I heard. It was just the idea of like, everybody hates Starmer as an example. But apparently there are like certain examples of like things that he did sort of like create for a sort of like nationalized industry. Don't remember specifically what the fields were.
Yeah. Well, he does represent, I mean, Starmer did some. The trouble was with Keir Starmer is that he did a lot of U-turns on stuff, and he didn't. I mean, the scenario, the situation he inherited wasn't exactly a basket of fruit, should we say? So, in some respects, he was onto a hiding to nothing anyway. But,
yeah, and in this case, like the change between him and the next guy is like, this isn't even really going to be much of a meaningful change.
This is, I mean, you got to understand in the UK, we vote for a party. Our general elections, we're voting for a party, yeah, and the party has a leader, and the leader of the party is called the shadow leader when they're not in power, and when they're in power, they're the prime minister, and they're number 10. At any given point, that person can be ousted from that role, in Parliament or through pressures coming from the public and through the press and stuff. And the party then is responsible themselves for electing a new person to sit in that role. So you've still got the same the Labour Party, the left side of UK politics running the show. The new guy will have slightly different ideologies or slightly different philosophies, but ultimately he still inherited the bag of the woes and financial and otherwise that are in the UK, and the way the world is at the moment, whoever's in charge of the UK hasn't really got a lot of meaningful wiggle room. So I don't know.
Perfectly fair assessment.
But I voted I voted left. There's three parties.
Leaders wiggle room.
There's three. There's essentially three parties: the Liberals, the Labour, and the Conservatives. Left, right, and middle. And historically, over my life, I voted, in all three camps at different times. And I thought what they were offering or what they were discussing or what they were putting forward, what their manifesto was, seemed sensible to the situation. A lot of people in the UK move, float their vote floats around. We don't have the same, the stringent polarity in politics that America has in some respects. We used to have it a bit more, but it's kind of. I mean, Labour used to be just Labour was born of workers' rights, trade unions, and the post-industrial revolution response of the working man to the draconian overlords of the industrial revolution. But of course, we live in a world now where people aren't spending 19 hours under a spinning, a loom, are they? Or down a coal mine for 14 hours for a sustenance. So I mean, the trade unions are waned to next to nothing. We'll see. We'll see how the new guy does.
Yeah.
But it's like, wherever you vote, it's nothing substantive changes really most of the time.
Nothing ever happens. This is the only true modality of political analysis.
Like I say, a lot of the world we live in is orchestrated by globalism anyway, not even by national politics anymore. No one seems to have any real countenance in any control of the likes of Amazon or the places that don't exist in one place anymore and don't pay taxes in one place anymore. They almost transcend any national politics, don't they? In every respect.
Yeah, that's the concept. It's just that there's so many levers that are intra-national that can be sort of pulled to make everything sort of bend to its will, as opposed to taking the power in the places. Yeah.
Perfect description. Yeah. They say there is an argument to say there is a cohort of people running the show. You know, that aren't on a ballot bot, you know, on a ballot sheet, and aren't necessarily working to any remit which is in anybody's interests, or is, if we say, even necessarily disclosed publicly. I think it's just the nature of the world. If you give human beings in power, we'll use it. We'll use it publicly in a very surreptitious way, but we'll cavort with it to whatever extent they can get away with it behind closed doors. It's just human nature, I think.
One random point from like 15 minutes ago that I heard when I was eating dinner. I think the Buddhists in Japan and other Buddhist countries, Yasuke, you're still listening, they actually do believe, but they just have a different type of belief where like they're so low, like for lack of a better word, on the karmic or reincarnation totem pole that they think that they need to say do rituals to work their way up in their next lifetime. So it's not like they don't believe. The reason why they do all that stuff is because they do believe. They just think that they are reincarnated low on the totem pole.
Global strings.
There's definitely going to be a cohort that believes that. I don't know how much that would be like the dominant versus like a sub-dominant. Like a 30% versus a 70% or something like that. You know what I mean?
I mean, this is like anecdotal, but I think like basically all of it. You know, like if you're a Buddhist, right, like the sort of highest thing you can aspire to is to be incarnated in a life where you will become a monk and then have the opportunity to be like, you know, to reach enlightenment. But like the random farmer who takes rice to the monastery every day, their perspective, and maybe this is nihilistic in some ways, but they think, yeah, I just wasn't born in that life. So they don't try to study the Buddhist text. They don't understand what it actually means. They don't meditate. They don't do anything like that. They think, okay, if I do these rituals, say these mantras, you know, bring some rice to the monastery, then in the next life, maybe I'll get to be a monk or something. Not that it matters, because I understood what your point was, but just a side tangent.
Yeah, that's right.
Riggs, get it poppin'. Kristen, all great artists are tormented.
I don't know if I can do it anymore. I'm all popped.
He's done popped it. What the hell? Am I gonna have to get off Discord and watch TV or something?
I thought you were gonna watch Lost.
I want to, but that's a major commitment that I don't know if I'm ready for yet.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't debate, and I'm so out of the loop. I have no current events in my brain. None.
I don't either. Like, this sounds ridiculous, but I only hear about news on Discord or sometimes from my dad. That's like, I have no idea what's going on unless someone in one of these servers is talking about it, or I happen to see my dad and he tells me.
Yep. And for sure, the news I hear from them, it's never going to be it's never going to be anything that I hear. You know what I mean? So it's kind of funny.
Yeah, definitely. I'll get like the headlines, you know, like Trump said this stupid thing or the stock market's crashing, but that's about the extent.
Hey, Taylor. I don't know if you're
what's
out
up?
there, dude. Hey,
Yeah, I just had to leave for a minute because I was
Okay.
recording a video. We just did one test with the temperature gradients over the water. But now I want to see if we can like look at an island that should be hidden.
Okay. Yeah, I've been trying to figure out. I sent you a message. What did you need help with?
I'm like, I think I posted a picture of where I'm at. And since we don't have a theodolite to get like the exact elevation to see if it's dropped below or above like eye level when it shouldn't be or whatever, it would be useful to be able to see if we can see an island that should be hidden behind the curve to kind of have a reference point. I can go over it in more detail later, but so that's kind of what I'm looking for is an island off the coast of let's see where I'm at right now. I'm by Kanahi, and right now we're going to Lania Beach. It's spelled Alnikai. And we're going to see, there's some islands over here. I'm not sure if they're supposed to be hidden or not. The Moku Iki Island.
Okay. Yeah, funny names. So do you want me to go get like Ruhif, or have you messaged him yet? I know he's good with the maps.
Yeah, I should probably message Ruhif. I can send him a DM real quick.
Okay, if he doesn't get back to you, then I'll definitely try to help you. But yeah, it's Saturday night. Time to pop. Everybody start popping.
Pop, pop. Pop, pop.
Pop, pop.
That's
Hey,
not
what's up,
flat.
Harry?
Pop.
Have you been working on the lady?
Oh, yes, I have. I've been ruining her. You know how I like to do it.
No. I
Nudge
thought
her in
maybe
the
you'd
right
have good
direction.
news this time.
Take 14 steps back.
Oh
No,
man,
it got weird just because I ran out of credit on one of my things.
I noticed the notepads were sorting in a different way.
Yeah,
but it just kept. I couldn't tell if it was just being slow or wrong. You know what I mean?
Is this in the last, so since yesterday, Claude rate limited me, so I switched over to ChatGPT, and it's just making slightly shitter notes.
Cool. I am super tempted to run one on my own machine and see if I can start developing like my own little bot here one day.
Do it.
Maybe somehow.
Bot battles.
Well, I was thinking like, what's all the cool things I could do with the bot? You know, like somebody joins, they get this message, or I don't know, just something to play around with.
You don't even need inferencing for that, but inferencing is fun. What GPU do you have?
I have a 4080, but in my home lab I have a B70.
Why?
Why what? Do you know what a B70 is?
Let me see.
It's a Intel B70 Pro.
Yeah, okay. This is what I imagined. Why? Why do you have why? 32 gigs of VRAM.
I'm an exhibitionist. That's why.
So
okay, so as S, I don't know if I can say the word right.
How much is the B70?
It's $1,000.
Yep.
Why did you get that?
Because hold on a second.
that was my.
I'm trying not to die in my game. I'm sorry.
Oh.
What's your plan?
Okay, so the B70 has SRIOV, so that when I'm running on my home lab, I can split up its resources into 4 or more virtual machines. So I can have multiple streams and a home LLM and other different containers. And so otherwise my GPU would be limited to 1 VM. This can be equally distributed across 4 or more.
Okay.
So I can use the encoding or the compute or the RAM or.
So what are you using it for now?
I host the stream and the event stream, and I'm still learning how to use the home lab software.
Okay.
Wait, are you running containers? Did you say you have like Docker containers running, or did you mean something else?
I will get there.
Okay.
I was
like, damn, dude, I didn't know you got down like that. But
well, I'm not there yet, but I had to learn how to do all that to run this place. So
yeah, you want it to be manageable, right? Containers will help with that for sure. That's cool.
So you got a
I went all in.
Yeah, like right now it's encoding
because I knew I wanted
stream.
to do the LLM thing. That's why I have enough I have enough CPU power to do the streams with X264, but I would rather them be accelerated and usable across multiple VMs. And this was like the only GPU on the market that did that. It's a brand new GPU. I was like, fuck it. Has the RAM, has the compute, has the features. Let's go. And the price was right, because other GPUs with the same VRAM they're like, fuck, like $4,000. This is $1,000. So
it will be impressive if you don't have any issues running inferencing alongside the streaming, but it sounds like that is explicitly what the technology is sold as.
Well, the encoders are entirely separate from the compute. So I hope you're right. I hope there's no issues.
But nevertheless, you are definitely set up, probably definitely better than me and probably better than Eggshells to do local inferencing. Like you have the hardware to do that.
Right. Well, Eggshells has a 4080 as well. And it's a desktop, so it's plenty good. Plenty good.
How much VRAM do you guys have?
He has 16.
Yeah. It's a big jump from 16 to 32. And the VRAM's the bottleneck on local inferencing for the most part.
Well, like one of the best models is just over like 20 VRAM, like 22. So, there are more affordable options that can do that. But I think I have something that works for me. We'll see how it goes.
Should keep setting it up. Maybe give Eggshells some tokens to use.
Shit. He's got all the tokens, man. I keep telling him to make something local.
Well, he just ran out. He's
always got a tokens. He's always got something up his pocket.
Yeah, I got another bunch of LLMs I can use. I'm making most of them try to be LLM agnostic. But yeah, I don't know if I keep doing it wrong, but every time I try to compute locally, it's just dog shit.
No, it's you're limited by like a factor of 100.
What? I'll be 100 times dumber than an API, you mean?
Just basically, yeah. To put it very simply.
Yeah,
like
that's the thing. Go on.
Those models are running on hundreds of gigabytes of VRAM, not 16.
Yeah. And what I'd thought was, that's fine for dumb tool calls. I can do those locally. And I can sometimes, but they're still a little bit iffy compared to like dumb other models. And slow, staggeringly slow. Just really wild. I would have thought, it's just on my graphics card. So it'll be like, ping, is this somebody, using an insult? Pong, yes, that's an insult. And it's like if I ask some fucking server bank in Silicon Valley, it's far quicker than asking my own graphics card.
I have a 3080 and I can get thousands of tokens per second on the right model. So you definitely can with your 4080.
Harry, I bet you had some settings wrong or something.
I could have done. I also started getting all conspiracy on it being like, I am asking Claude to benchmark and test and run and create harnesses for my local Olama model. Is it just sort of like, is it like going to a homeopath and asking them whether science-based medicine works, right? They're just going to be biased. But yeah, I use it for some stuff. It does all of my classification of users' profiles and stuff like that. Stuff that doesn't take very long, but will be lots of processing. I let it do that on the card, but anything I want done live, I just don't bother. I'll keep trying if somebody gives me some new tips.
We're so fucked. I didn't even watch Dune. Like, we made thinking machines, but we can barely think ourselves.
I know, right? Like that's what gets me about this thing with Iran and the fact that these tech billionaires are like the sheer existence of Peter Thiel should be terrifying. The fact that you've got
it is
evangelical billionaire tech wizard gays is like, we've just given up on making sense.
Give an example.
I assume he has no engineering knowledge at all. I assume
who's the evangelical billionaire?
Thiel.
Peter Thiel. He's gay, married to a man, but evangelical and wildly supports.
Oh, really?
Israel.
You'll know them by their fruit. That's weird.
That's weird.
Yeah, I always get bored with Christians saying other Christians aren't Christians. It's just no true Scotsman.
Peter Thiel knows about the Antichrist Eggshells.
He thinks he's the Antichrist. Is that true? I've heard that.
He thinks who's the Antichrist?
I've heard he thinks that he's the Antichrist or obsessive or something.
He thinks he is the Antichrist. He thinks of himself as the Antichrist.
Yeah, I'll look that
he
up.
doesn't.
I can look that up.
Wow.
That's not how he puts himself out there, at least. Like, maybe he does think that privately, and that you could make an argument for that, but that's not at all what he presents.
Yeah, I thought he was trying to be a good.
No, he goes on and on
Jesus.
about how we have to fight the Antichrist. That's his whole thing. He's doing a thing.
What do you mean by he's doing a thing?
He is God's greatest warrior.
Yeah,
What?
he does have the sort of eyes of a terrifying zealot.
Yeah, Peter Thiel is an anagram of the reptile.
Is it? That's
Yes,
fun.
it is.
That's fun. He looks
love
kind
that.
of reptilian. He looks like he needs to lick his own eyeballs to keep them moist.
Guys,
Just
You
like, how could you? Yeah, go on.
we're so fucked. Like, they're indexing every word that we're saying right now. You have the technology. You're doing it yourself. Why wouldn't they?
Oh, for sure they are. I just don't think they care. I think if they ever got sent a voice chat of some randos in Discord saying he looks like a reptile, they
thing.
would just
They don't
laugh
have to
into their
care.
golden
They don't have
goblet.
to care.
Exactly.
They have to set up society to start to disadvantage people that don't like them, which is what they're doing. Like, the concept of the social credit score is not at all science fiction. We are there now. Like, you drive past the ALPR, it looks you up, and you get identified. Like, you get scored on whether or not the cop, like, how much they're going to make by pulling you over. We'll have profiling at every single level of society, right? Like, we used to be concerned about it being having profiling in credit, and so we made it illegal. I think the credit bureaus were the original surveillance network. You know, because the surveillance that matters is the one that we accept. The one that we're like, all right, this is like a good trade. And that was the credit monitoring. But they've worked that into everything. I'm sorry, I sound crazy, but I'm very pessimistic. I think even the most dystopian science fiction won't cover what's probably going to happen. But you guys can see the scaffolding is here. Like,
Oh, yeah.
Eggshells has a thinking machine. She's in here with us. She's dumb and doesn't get anything right. But so what? If they will take that technology, as they already have years ago, and scale it up hundreds of thousands of times and use it against us. It doesn't even matter who they are at this point. Whoever gets to that first is going to have a massive advantage. And that's why we have like such an insane economic bubble of people racing for more powerful AI systems.
Yeah, life is going to become very difficult to understand soon, I think.
Difficult to control, at least.
Like, we really are at the Ray Kurzweil talked about that inflection point where technology is advancing so fast you can't keep up.
I'm sure people would have said that in the year 2000. They're just wrong.
Well, kind of, it was already starting to happen by 2000, where you used to ask Dad how to use tools, and Dad, back in the 1200s would have known all the tools, and it would have been unlikely the son teaches him a new one because new tools came along so rarely. And now, yeah, in the 2000s, it went from dad setting the VCR to the son setting the VCR. Or daughter, maybe. Never seen that, but maybe.
Yeah, like when I was a kid, my dad used to help me install games, and then later in life, I had to help him install mods.
Aw. Be right back.